everybody, this is Simon for Raising Vibrations. Welcome to another video. I hope everybody's doing great. So today I'm really excited to be sharing with you some of my thoughts and current sort of electrical downloads that I'm experiencing. And so today we're going to be sharing, or I'm going to be sharing something with you called the art of manifestation. Okay. And this is actually something that I specifically do when I'm working with the souls that do Metamorphosis program with me, and we work on the process of manifestation and how it actually operates. And so today I'm just going to kind of like allow you to, as I said, check in with how I see it. So I hope that this brings you some interest. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at here is the spine, or the sort of currency, the current with it, which is in your body at this stage, and how the process actually works. So whenever we look at currency, we always look at the current energetic vibration that you carry. And this is a big deal when it comes to understanding manifestation. Now, there are actually two aspects of manifestation in the world. There's one where we manifest through the ego in order to create an external material wealth. And then we have the spiritual manifestation, which is really just about recognizing within ourselves that whatever journey we're on, that things will manifest instantaneously for us if we're on the right path. Now, as I say that, I'm aware of the duality in the process because, of course, right path, what is that? It's very subjective. So it's not something that anybody can actually tell you is the path or not. You have to find that out for yourself. But the process of how we anchor in electrical thoughts into the physical would be a representation of what I'm sharing with you today. So just to kind of claim some clarity in terms of manifestation. So I think that this is something that we can all really understand and digest. And again, I'm starting to really share with everybody that my main interest in doing this is actually to give us the opportunity to, whoever's interested in it, to educate ourselves in ways where when we're going out into the world and we're talking about higher dimensional states of consciousness, that we are not only feeling secure within ourselves to share what we know, but also to be able to, in some way, shape or form, allow another person to have a sense of insight as you express yourself and feel comfortable in your ability to share higher dimensional states. So, as you can see, I've drawn here, you've got Pluto, you've got Uranus, Neptune, you've got Uranus, Saturn, and the Moon. Okay, and they all represent these elements of ourselves. So Pluto, again, is the spirit into matter experience, or should I say that spirit into matter. And you've got the ego and the soul that manifests that, okay? Neptune has got the three tridents, or should I say is the trident, and that is emotional purification, soul purification, and of course spiritual purification. Uranus is that electrical field. As you can see there, it's that process where we connect the electricity. It's the antenna. Okay. Saturn would be that process of how we harvest our life's work, and the moon would be that really, really close sphere just around our senses that represents that emotional imprinting. So what happens here is that you have Pluto in your birth charts, where you have the archetype of Pluto, and this is desire. So everything stimulates and comes from desire. Okay, so as an example, to use this in a way where we can really see this happening for us, is that, so here's a video, you watching it, okay? And you recognize that as you're experiencing this part over here, okay? But what you are experiencing is my process of going down this ladder, okay? So what happens is that I have a desire to separate from myself, from my current space, and tap into feelings of whatever. Okay, so those feelings in this case will be specific. They are the desire to improve humanity's ability to understand higher dimensional states of consciousness, for me to be able to share the knowledge in a way that's very easy and clear, so it's digestible, and for us to raise the frequency of the planet, okay? So there's three things. It's raise the frequency of the planet, including myself, train my ability to do my soul work, which is take higher perspectives of the stuff and put it into very easy bite-sized places. And then the service in some way, shape, or form is really for us to feel the need or the ability to have knowledge and really have it within ourselves, so that not only we can use this or you can use this, but also that there is a sense of security that you hold when you're talking about the stuff, okay? Like when you share it. So my desire shatters the place that I'm at, okay? It's like it moves me in this direction, and that's my desire. And then what happens is that I experience inspiration. Okay, so inspiration would be the dream. It would be the feeling of like, wow, this is what it's gonna look like, and this is what people are gonna say, and this is how it's gonna be shared, and all this type of madness that comes from this experience. But my inspiration is that feeling of God. Okay, that's source, that's Neptune. It's like as I connect to it, I connect to how am I gonna describe it? How am I gonna feel into it? What does it mean? What does my imagination do with me when I connect to that space? So first I have desire, and then I have inspiration, dreams, the coloring, etc. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I just have a very, very deep feeling of yeah, this is motivation. And then from that process, we then move down the ladder and we move into the thoughts and ideas part. Okay, and this is Uranus. This is the higher mind. This is when everything starts to form an electrical magnetic spectrum. So there's excitement, okay, the masculine energy. That's I want to go out and I want to explore stuff. I want to get some pictures out. I want to put out the words and what is it going to look like. And then the magnetism is that feeling of like attraction, like how am I going to share it? So the electromagnetic spectrum is actually what you're experiencing right now, because you're experiencing my thoughts, you're experiencing my ideas, you're experiencing my voice. It's frequencies and sounds, okay? And you're also experiencing my inspiration, because as you can see, I'm sharing with you that process, and you're also experiencing my desire. So you can see how I'm starting to manifest in reality right now, okay? And here we have the connection of the electrical system. And so again, as I said before, this is the point where thoughts and ideas, bright ideas are experiencing Uranus, Aquarius, okay, higher mind. That's why the waves look like it does. So as that comes into place, we then connect the left brain and the right brain. So left brain and right brain. So the right brain is abstract, intuitive, creative spark, and the left brain is the process of putting everything in order and making it sort of comprehensible. And, I'm developing the language that's necessary to communicate this, and so on and so forth. And then I ground it into the physical. And this is what I'm doing right now. So you're watching this video when I've already moved on from this experience, but as I'm creating this video right now, I'm doing the Saturn work. So I'm doing the time. Okay, so when I started this video, it was, at 10 o'clock at night, for instance, and maybe when I finished it, it was past. Okay, so that's the Saturn work. That's the time. It's the motion of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's the feeling that I'm having of how that is being occurred. So I'm grounding it into the physical, right? So we can perceive it in our five senses. And that, of course, would be me channeling my energy and my electrical things into my hand where the mouse is working, and of course, where you see the imagery, okay? Now, the emotional imprinting is all those feelings that you get from this. So you might come up and be like, wow, that was super cool. Oh, that was boring, like I've seen this before. So all of those emotional imprintings is what we then on emotional level connect with ourselves. This is I've lost the word now, astral body, as it were, okay? And self-identity. And a part of this experience is also the way that you are experiencing every moment-to-moment reality. Does that make sense? So you can actually see here that what I've done is I've incarnated myself, not reincarnated, but incarnated myself into the physical. In other words, my consciousness, higher dimensional consciousness, is sitting in 7th, 8th state. And then what happens is that I connect to that via openness, via a deep meditation. And as that process occurs, I pull it into my physical. I pull the information into my physical. I attract it into the core of my being. And as I attract it into my being, it starts to become more physical and physical and physical. And this is how what is called spinning the disc. I call this spinning the disc. And that is that you learn to actually attract higher inspirational thoughts and coming from a desire into the physical, and then that becomes the process of how you actually create light. So what you're experiencing right now is me manifesting light, and then you observing my light. And just like any of us will always be attracted to something that's interesting to us, we're always attracted through our interest, which would be desire, our feelings of what that it could be like, that inspiration, oh, that looks like a cool video to watch, and then the thoughts and ideas that are programmed in that electromagnetic spectrum, right? And of course, you experience the time factor. So you've watched this video, it say for instance was 15 minutes long, and when you began watching it until the end, that would be the time that you experienced. And you downloaded that electromagnetic spectrum, you downloaded that inspiration, you downloaded that desire, and it becomes your emotional imprinting. It's pretty neat, isn't it? Now, for most of us, we come into this incarnation disempowered. And the reason why is because, well, there's many reasons, but the most profound one is, of course, we naturally gravitate towards our unconscious emotional security patterns, i.e. Pluto. So the past life desires. And as we manifest from that place, we naturally create realities in which we're of the past. And so naturally our karma comes up, which is why we attract to people into our lives, specific situations and circumstances to grow from. Now, in this case, Pluto can either be your desire to find yourself and know yourself, or it can be the desire to search for situations and circumstances outside of yourself, i.e. attach yourself and your identity and your sense of meaning to material garbage. And when you do that, you literally create a sense of meaning to things outside of yourselves. I mean, it's that simple, and I do apologize for regurgitating it. But you understand what I mean by that, right? So we disempower ourselves through the process of not firstly seeking within what is our ultimate desire. And this is a big thing. You first have to spend time really going inside to find out what it means for you to exist. So what is meaning? Okay. Now, unfortunately, when we're in a disempowered state, Neptune doesn't become inspiration. In fact, it becomes its opposite polarity, which is void. And the reason why is because the inspiration is not coming from your own dream state. It's coming from the external world. And as you know, the external world is very much about other people's desires and inspirations. So as long as you are seeking inspiration existentially in terms of your own meaning of life, then you will probably land up in situations not only detached and disassociated from your experience of excitement, your feelings of desire will not be there. It comes from this place. I hope I'm making myself clear here. So as an example, you can look outside of yourself for inspiration. Absolutely. I mean, this is what this channel is about, right? But this is my meaning. This is my sort of like way of sharing what my Neptunian dream is about, but it's not yours. So all you can do in the void is connect to something that creates a feeling of synchronicity and reminds you of something a part of yourself, but you still need to go inside of yourself to find your own inner space. And then from that point, be it. And this is what I really wanted to share with you, is that this process of incarnating yourself into the physical all the time is about downloading your higher dimensional awareness or self or galactic self or cosmic self into the physical. And so that's what you're experiencing with me right now. And so the same thing happens when you go through your spiritual journey. You wake up to deeper meaning, but you can only go through that process if you spend time reflecting on what is meaningful for you. So again, like I said, don't look outside of yourself for the answers. Look inside, but absolutely use other people as inspiration to feel out where and what it is that seems interesting to you, but do not latch onto it. Okay, so as I said again, this video is here to inspire you to see this, but find it in yourself first and incarnate your own self first, because as long as you recognize that you are source in that way, then everything that you incarnate will always be this process of manifestation, right? I want that. I desire that. And then you evolve through the process. And that's what's really key here, is that as I'm doing this video with you right now, I'm going to watch it again. And I'm going to say, okay, that's where I feel like I need to be more specific, that maybe that term was a bit broad, etc. And because my desire ultimately is to really simplify understanding. So as you can see, again, I'm incarnating myself to heal that process within me. And that's what everybody's got to do, in my opinion, is to really incarnate yourself to develop deeper awareness around who you are and what you are. Because the more you do that, the more you tend to work on this side versus that side. So disempowerment comes through feeling of limitedness within yourself, that you can't do anything and you got to work through that. Okay. The void becomes the absence. And this is when everybody turns to alcohol as an escape route versus inspiration. So creative inspiration versus alcohol and madness. Detached and disassociated becomes the fracturing of trauma, because now all of a sudden your electromagnetic spectrum is screwed up. It's like it's all weird and it's not in alignment. You're not feeling a sense of ideas and thoughts. You're just frazzled. Your association and awareness is all over the place. And then what happens here at this point is that your control, expectations, and suppressions are in existence. So instead of you doing your own YouTube channel, for instance, or following your own dreams, you're disempowered through other people's dreams. That becomes an existential void of other people's dreams. That becomes a detached and disassociation that leaves you to having other people's expectations met, for you needing to be controlled by the people. That leads to suppression of your own desires, your own dreams, your own meaning in life. And as soon as that's occurring, you literally have an absence. You have an absence of emotional meaning, connection. It's Neptune and the moon are so connected in the birth chart because of the fact that the void and absence of meaning is so connected. So we can go through our entire life with absolutely no meaning because we're in the void through disempowerment. And disempowerment comes through searching for things outside of ourselves versus reaching inwardly. So before you can incarnate yourself, you've got to recognize where you are reincarnating. And reincarnating is aspects of the past, hence the re. Whereas incarnation is just every moment is new, every single experience is new, and there is timelessness occurring. So I'm going to go over this one more time, or maybe not, because you can watch this over in terms of how I explained it before, but I hope everybody gets this process, because what I'm now going to show you is a couple of slides to really drive this point home. Okay, the spine, incarnation, up and down the electromagnetic spectrum. So as you can see here, this is the circle, and everything spuns from that point, and you can see how you have the sine, the sine wave. This is day and night, and that in that place is the time and space experience, but everything's unified there. So this is the cycle, this is the circle, and you're going through time and space, incarnating yourself. And this would be a representation of Pluto coming down into the physical. There's the electromagnetic spectrum, and this becomes the time frame. And then eventually it's the totality of the experience. So it's the same thing with this light bulb. Now, every single time I create a video, and every single time you do something that's really fun and exciting, that's Pluto at the top, and it bang, and it bring it down into the physical. Okay. And then once it stops in the physical over there, you experience it with the eyes. Okay. And then what happens is that as that occurs, so let's just do this over here, it comes back up, okay, back up to the spine. But really, when you know the toroidal field, when you know manifestation, you'll realize that as soon as you incarnate yourself into the physical, what's going to come back to you is the electromagnetic spectrum of positivity or negativity, okay? So as this video gets created, it comes down to the physical, bang, people watch it. And then say, for instance, somebody makes a comment. They go, hey, that was a great video. That information comes back at me, reminding me of the story and allowing me to see it in physicality. So it's a response. So this is why the universe always responds to you in accordance with where you are. That's why, where you are right now is literally where you are. So if you're in disempowered states, the universe is going to, as the feedback loop, sends it back to you and says, okay, dude, you're back. This is where you are. So the universe is always in service to you because it's reminding you of exactly where your karma is and what your situation is about. And it's so important and profound to understand, because as you incarnate yourself through karma that you haven't resolved, what's going to come back at you is just unresolved karma. And then you're going to incarnate that again, and it's going to come back to you again until you wake up, the light bulb comes on, and you realize, oh, maybe I'm actually telling the universe through my unconscious actions that I don't love myself, because I'm not actually choosing to empower myself enough to actually move out of the situation where I'm feeling physically abused or mentally abused. Does everybody get this point? So people show up in your electromagnetic spectrum saying, hey, we're going to show you that you don't love yourself by being horrible to you in a way that is not directly from us, but because you choose to vibrate on our frequency. It's that simple, and yet very, very true, and maybe sometimes difficult to process. Now, there are a lot of like bigger questions that can be coming from this. Like, what happens if you have a car accident? How does that manifest in your life? Well, unfortunately, we do live in a world in which we are interfacing with a void. And when we interface with that void, there is going to be Neptunian circumstances that are outside your control that unfortunately you have to surrender to. Just like it's if you choose to want to get married on a Wednesday where the sun's going to shine and all of a sudden the caterer decides that he's going on strike the night before because he's, what happened. And now you don't actually have any catering for your wedding that next day. It's like, what are you going to do? It's not you don't have direct influence over that. So there is that element to that process and you learn to surrender that. I'm talking about conscious incarnation through excitement and arousal in understanding what you are as an electromagnetic spectrum being. Okay. So I was showing you what was called the feedback loop, and the feedback loop is fantastic because this is the flower of life, right? So if you draw that axis there, that can be the spine, and then where it meets over there, as you can see, is the material plane. So you incarnate yourself into the world, and what comes back up is the reality of that. You incarnate yourself into the world, and what comes back is the reality of it. And it's literally the feedback loop. So you incarnate yourself, you create a video, and you send it out into the world. People say, hey, that was a fantastic video, you should do more. And all of a sudden you create a new video. And it's just like a consistent sort of feedback loop that is infinite energy based on what is inspiring to you. And this is why you've got to really, truly, honestly understand what arouses you, what brings your sense of creative juices to the table, and then anchor that into the physical through the Saturn work. So Neptune and Saturn is spiritual because Neptune is inspiration and Saturn is grounding it. All right. And it's deep process. It's spiritual work in that sense. And let's take away the word spiritual and let's just use simple terms. Let's just say, love what I do in that way. And find out what you do by reflecting upon inwardly what is meaningful for you. And how can you offer to the world something, or to yourself? And that's a key thing I wanted to really share with everybody. What can you offer yourself? Not in an egocentric way, but what can you offer your soul's journey that then becomes the platform for sharing with the world? So I met somebody the other day that was like, oh, what should I do with my life? And I said, well, what do you think is important? And that's what it becomes, right? So to me, this is what I feel is important. And so I share it, and this is how it becomes. This is how it manifests. So if you're feeling at a point in your life where you really need to be there, understand this process, digest it quite deeply, and then just be it. Just do it. Like, just actually exist and be present with yourself and incarnate yourself so that you start creating feedback loops within yourself that realizes that the work that you do internally becomes external, external, and so on and so forth. And this is the toroidal field, okay? And the phi ratio, which is the man, is the creative vehicle in which you anchor that into, okay? Now, unfortunately, the phi ratio is 5 senses, and this is just the physical being, but you want to anchor your higher dimensional state of consciousness into the physical as a unit. Remember that transcendence is the ability to integrate higher self-awareness into the physical. Otherwise, it means nothing. Because if you're detached and disassociated, like, what are you changing? Nothing, because your body is not physically moving. You're not actually moving energy on the physical plane. So there is the light and love consciousness. There is sending good vibes. That's fantastic. But what are you doing in the physical that is allowing your body to actually show a significant change, right? It just doesn't happen. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. So if you feel like you're actually wanting to make a difference in your life, realize that the body is connected to that story heavily. Okay, and it's the vehicle, it's the conduit. You are a conductor in that sense. And so here becomes this process of, I showed in a previous video where it was the electromagnetic spectrum, and you've got positive energy and negative energy, or you've got the Kabbalah tree, which was feminine and masculine in that sense. Your two arms, and then the spine is in the middle, and this is Ascension. Okay, and Ascension is then going up and down the spine. You're consistently integrating your higher states of consciousness. So as I said again, I have desire that propels me to sit here, and then I bring into the field of awareness, I'm sharing with you my dream, and I do that through anchoring it in through my visions of my third eye that becomes the voice, and that's connected to my heart, which then eventually becomes the process of doing this thing. and I connect to you emotionally, which then shows in the root chakra. It's like, this is my action. And then what will happen is that the feedback loop will come back where people say, hey man, that video was great, that video sucked, etc., etc. And from there I can respond. So respond, act, respond, act, respond, act. It's pretty neat. And so this finally becomes that process of this is the diffuse, this is the white light, this is what you are. You are unconditioned consciousness, okay? And the prism is the portal in which I'm using at the moment. So YouTube is the portal I'm using to project my white light into the physical, and you see that electromagnetic spectrum on the other side. Whereas what I'm experiencing is this part over here of beaming white light, incarnating myself into the physical, and then you through the physical experiencing that color, right? And so the journey of manifestation occurs through going through the pyramid, which is the Trinity, past, present, future, or masculine, feminine, and wisdom, as that works. Awesome, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this video. I highly appreciate all your attention, and I hope you really learned something from this experience. If you did, as I said, write in the comments below. And don't forget to check out Raising Vibrations' website if you're interested in supporting the work that I do. There's tons of services and stuff there that you can check out if you're interested in learning astrology, as an example. We've also got the membership program as well, which I highly recommend. It's been going for quite some time, so there's quite a lot of videos on there at this stage. Yeah. All right, guys, have a fantastic day. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and share it with everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.